Alexandra, this paves a way for Elon Musk to take his stake in Tesla to 25% over the course of the 10 years. Could you just explain what the sentiment was like last night into this morning about how comfortable investors feel handing over that control to Elon Musk and the belief that you do or do not have that he can hit the milestones that have been set for him by the board?
Oh, I'm very confident that he will hit the milestones. He's shown us before what is possible. Nothing's never easy. But if you set goals to Elon, he's very competitive. He's obviously, in my views, the best executor there is on this planet, and he will execute. So that's not the question. The question is whether we would get sufficient retail and institutional shareholder support, and we should it. 75% is astoundingly high. It is higher than the previous compensation packages votes and revotes in 2018 and 2024. So this was a clear victory. I am so grateful for everybody who voted. I would like to see the 25% that voted against it, because how can you be against this if you are a shareholder? But that's another topic.
For example, we had the investment director of CalPERS on the show yesterday. CalPERS voted no. And the rationale was that in aggregate, they saw Elon Musk and board members already having 16% of the company. And the issue of key man risk. So if Musk does get there, right, and achieves 25% stake, what if something happens to him? Or what if something distracts him? xAI, SpaceX, for example. That was the concern they had. Why don't you share the concern?
Well, first of all, that's the same concern at 16% or 25%, right? So that CalPERS argument is just non-existent, even though it's a nice word salad. There is no doubt in my mind that that's what they try to do. It's not an issue about whether he, as a key man, is a risk to Tesla. He is. The same way he is the key person, he's also the key man risk. That is just a fact. And actually part of the structure of this compensation plan addresses that, as the last two tranches are linked to a succession plan, to a more formal succession plan than what is currently in place. So 16 or 25%, that's not a question. But at 25%, Elon is sufficiently strong to prevent activist shareholders trying to take over, bringing board members in that are not aligned with Tesla's mission. And I think that is the key point. Retail has always stood with Elon and has always been very active, knows what this company is about. So that is not the concern, but it is institutional funds that are in Tesla, despite the fact that they don't really like the company, don't understand the company, vote against interest of the company. And that can become stronger just by the pure mechanism of index funds, of political activism. And he wants to make sure that that can be prevented. And he's right. And the fact of being in Texas helps a lot, but him getting to 25% obviously is a good shield.
But that's exactly the worry, is that he does get the 25% control and can fend off activism that might be in some way trying to course correct, as others feel, outside of Tesla. Why is that? Well, you're saying it's a word salad, but for many, that's exactly the fear, that he has control over what he calls a robot army.
I understand that. I understand that there is a fear, but ask those activists what is their idea about Tesla, what is their idea about a better world. They never talk about that. They talk about the fact that they fear Elon is too powerful. They never talk about what Tesla is all about. I never hear a CalPERS or, God forbid, a Klaus Lewis, ISS, or the New York Comptroller talk about the mission of Tesla, talk about where Tesla is going. And, you know, I rather, as a shareholder, have Elon's have the keys to an army of bots than anybody else, including the 4 companies I just mentioned.
We'll put that to CalPERS. I feel that he, in many ways, was trying to articulate that they are about the long-term vision, whether it's about electric vehicles, whether it's about supporting the climate, whether it's about humanoid robots. They just don't think that perhaps another CEO couldn't achieve really significant, phenomenal growth for this business, even if it wasn't Elon Musk. Why is he alone the only person who could meet these milestones and drive Optimus to be on the moon, on Mars. I mean, that seemed to be the next area of growth. Was that what you wanted to hear, that we're going to have Optimus doing surgery, but also eventually going to Mars?
Yes, we should do. We should want to hear that. We also were absolutely excited thinking about chip manufacturing. I don't think that has really gotten through yet to the press, and I hope Bloomberg is going to talk about it. If Tesla goes into chip manufacturing, can you imagine? So I would like to ask CalPERS, show me one other CEO who did even half of what Elon has accomplished. If you show me one where you have the feeling that that person could do something even comparable, I'm ready to sit down and discuss it with him, but we've got to wait for a long time.
Right. Alexandra, I would push back a little bit because I wrote the story about Elon's comments from the earnings call about clarifying the Samsung-TSMC relationship. And I sent the headline last night about his comments on chip manufacturing. So I'm going to look into it. I need to ask you about xAI. You were in the room and were waiting on the 8K. What appeared to happen was Brendan Earhart, the corporate secretary, say there were more for votes than against, but a very large number of abstentions. And so they're basically reserving the right to wait, look at the non-binding proposal and go back to it. Is that your understanding of where things stand? And also just your reaction to it, because you were involved in the process of getting that proposal on the docket.
Yes, well, thank you very much. Yes, very good question. And as you point out, we haven't seen the 8K yet, so I don't have the underlying numbers, but I know exactly what happened. The board's recommendation was neutral. They did not give a recommendation. Lots of retail shareholders just follow blindly the board's recommendation. So by going after the board's recommendation, instead of voting none, they abstained. That is the logical way, and that's actually how it is automated. We had this issue with a Norwegian bank who gave their shareholders only a certain limited number of options to vote, and then the shareholders from Norway, which are very numerous in Tesla, could not vote for question 6. They were abstaining. So abstaining was also just a consequence of the way the proxy was laid out. And there was no better choice. It was a bad choice to not be able to give a guidance, but there was no other choice, because what the board is trying to do here, and we have to understand why that is to stay out of it until they get a clear mission from the shareholders. And why are they doing that? Well, because it is a conflicted situation. Elon is the key man in both xAI and Tesla, and as Solar City has shown us, it is always difficult to invest from one company A into a company B that are both led by the same key person. So the board tries to stay out of it until there is a clear mission. Now, we have to see the 8K numbers to understand whether this is now a clear call from shareholders to do it. If there were so many abstains, it may not be. But you also have to know that this shareholder proposal number 7 was always only advisory. It was never that this vote would have been an automatic investment. If the board now convenes that they want to invest, we will certainly have another shareholder vote on the exact proposal of investment, not just on the general idea.